You're listening to XSGaming Podcast, a podcast for gamers by gamers, with your hosts Xander, Skullion, and James Grusso, bringing you something old, something new, and a little bit of nostalgia too.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of XSGaming Podcast. We're recording this on the 29th of April 2018 after a month hiatus. I'm your host, Xander Skullion, and joined with me is my wonderful co-host, Mr. James Grusso. What's up, James?
Greetings and salutations, everyone. You'll have to forgive me if I'm a little out of breath. I haven't talked in a whole month since we did the last show, and I was just rocking out to my friends in the Crypt Keeper 5, one of the greatest rock and roll bands in the world. If you've never listened to them, you should check them out. It's always a rocking good time, whether you're in the mood to party or if you're just feeling down and depressed and need something to cry to. They have all aspects covered, but I hope you all are doing well in the spring. I think it's spring, finally, I guess. I know it's snowing in many places still. It's nice and sunny and cool where I am, but I hope wherever you are, you're having a good time.
Yeah, and also, speaking of music, big shout out to our friend Ryan Cadaver from the Casket Creatures. They just dropped their new music video, The Phantom Zone. It's a really good video. I love their music videos. They're freaking hilarious. They're like sitting there on the couch and they get this alien invasion. They're like, let's just go kick its ass.
Yeah, they just interrupted the guy's movie. They just wanted to watch a movie, watch some beer. They've got about probably like at least about 5 videos out. They're, always a good time. A little bit of cheesiness, funniness to it. That's what they're supposed to be. They're almost a little bit like a trauma movie with sometimes a little bit better quality and sometimes at par. But they're always awesome dudes, great music, great videos. Just fun stuff. Another fun time to have.
Indeed. And speaking of fun times, I mean, since this month that we took off, and it was mainly my fault because, I had to go and find a new place to live and stuff. And
God damn you.
I know, shit. Well, I moved into a new place. It's really nice, and it's kind of nice, too, because, I don't live alone. I live with, some other people that, when I record, sometimes I'd be like, oh, man, you can hear, kids in the background and stuff like that. Now it's nice because I can be upstairs. The kids are downstairs playing, and I don't have to worry about that. So the show's going to be a lot better, too. So not to go too much off the topic of video games, because since this month has been past of our last recording, a lot has been going on. First and foremost, the first thing I want to talk about is Nintendo's new CEO. That's right. The CEO of Nintendo of Japan is retiring in June. And I'm pulling up the story right now because I'm still trying to remember the guy's name. He's actually a younger president. He's only 44, which is about 2 years older than Iwata was when he became president of Nintendo of Japan. But his name is, drumroll, it's Shintaro Furukawa, and I hope I'm saying that right. But I'm pulling up the article right now, and here's the interesting thing. So I want to talk about 6 things, or a couple things that we need to know about him. Okay, Mr. Furukawa is quite young. Like I mentioned earlier, he's 46. Also, he's worked at Nintendo since 1994. Like Iwata, Furukawa has been a Nintendo insider for a long time. However, his background tends to be more towards the marketing than programming. He's been the outside director of the Pokemon Company since 2012 to present day, and is currently in charge of Nintendo's global market department. That's pretty impressive. He was also involved in marketing efforts for the Nintendo Switch, and he worked for 10 years in Germany and is fluent in English, meaning we're probably going to be seeing a lot more of him during the Nintendo Directs, kind of like how we saw with Iwata. Now, the current CEO, Kimishima, I don't think he's that fluid in English, so he hasn't really been on the Nintendo Directs. I think he made an appearance during the announcement of the Nintendo Switch, but nowhere near the presence that Iwata has. And we might be getting this back with the new CEO. But what do you think about this, James?
Very cool. To some people, that age doesn't, sound young. And nowadays it really is. And considering a company like Nintendo, you imagine having that, trust, that work ethic as far as being there a long time with, even at his age, he has been. He's, regardless of what area he was in, he's seen a lot of ups, lots of downs. I think some people, when they saw his picture, they actually thought, he was a little bit younger than he was, kind of due to, he kind of had one of them little Japanese boy haircuts, which I thought was rather charming, But it's cool. I'd always heard the last guy, forgive me, I don't know his name off the top of my head, but that he was always kind of meant to be like, an interim president, just to be there for a little bit. He probably just was like, I don't know if I really want to do this. And I was like, well, you got to, dude.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Kimishima is like he was just supposed to be the CEO to finish Iwata's work. Like it was always said that he was going to be replaced sooner or later. Like he wasn't going to be there permanently. So that to have, another person come in, I know a lot of people are getting nervous, but we're going to get some young blood in the Nintendo of Japan, and some that has like global marketing. So that could be really interesting. I'm really curious to see what's going to be going on with that. Definitely.
Like I said, he's a guy who's obviously, seen a lot. Probably being a, younger guy like that, very excited. Lots of pressure too, I'm sure, put on him. But it seems like a good thing. I'm looking forward to it. Nintendo has been doing, quite well, obviously, with the Switch. And I'd only expect, to see more things coming, more things that people want. And, it's probably nothing but a good thing at the end. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, speaking of the success of the Switch, I mean, the Switch has, already outsold the Wii U lifetime span. I mean, the Wii U only sold like 13 million units globally, where the Switch now is at 18 million, which is really impressive since its release last year around March 3rd. And the reason why I'm segueing into that is because the Switch has been hacked. The folks in the homebrew community have already found out a way to manipulate the Switch's hardware. Now, this isn't the first time the Switch has been hacked. They've been messing around with it since it's launched, because it is using a NVIDIA processor, and now they've been able to do it like hardware. Before, it was just something with the software, like a soft mod. Nintendo made a patch and kind of get rid of it. Now it's a hardware mod. So this is kind of something for Nintendo to be concerned about. Now, here's my thing, okay? So I was looking into some of the hacks that you would have to do to your Switch in order to get it to have this custom firmware that you can do stuff like run Linux and stuff like that. And one of the things you have to do is you have to actually short circuit your right Joy-Con. It's the way you do the Joy-Con. You put this little cable in, you do this. You don't even have to do any soldering, but boom, you can actually go into the BIOS and the mainframe and all the bada bing, bada boom, boom, you have a modded Switch. So here's the thing about the Nintendo Switch and about the hacking, though. And I hate to be this person, but who is going to go out of their way to hack the Switch? I mean, a lot of people that are going to be doing that are people that are really into the homebrew community. It's not something that just your average Joe is going to be wanting to do. And the reason why I say that is because there's so many people that don't even want to mess with the Pi. The Pi is very easy to configure. It's pretty much just flashing an SD card, dragging and dropping ROM folders. And some people are just like, I don't have time to do that. They're not going to have time to, short circuit their Joy-Con, so you're pretty much already gimping the purpose of the Switch is having that handheld console hybrid playability. You're automatically gimping that. And also, there's a chance that if it is hacked and you go online, there's a chance it could break your console. So what do you think about this, James, in the long term? Do you think this is something that's going to be hurtful for Nintendo, or?
I kind of expect things like this to happen. At the end, someone's always going to figure out how to hack something. sometimes it's a little bit later on in the system's life. But like you said, I see a very small percentage. Like me, if I wanted a pie, I went to Retro Bro Gaming, and I got one there because I can't make one myself. I sure don't want to try to short circuit my Joy-Con unless I just spill a drink on it or something like that. That's the only way that's really going to happen. I got other means. I imagine a lot of people want to use this to run emulators. I've heard some things they might be able to copy some software games. I think it's like you said, it'll be a minute group. And the fact that before too long, I'm sure they'll put out, as this has been one that I've heard they can't stop. They can't put out a firmware update. Now, who knows if they could do something to brick consoles. I've heard people say, I hope Nintendo doesn't recall and make us turn in our come on.
No,
I hope they were just
that.
jesting like that. That was a bit ridiculous, but I imagine we would see revisions, of course, as they always make upgrades to systems, or whether it's new stock, and there will be preventive measures in the future. It's always a learning experience, as we've mentioned when these have happened before with systems, whether it's somebody hacking, doing this and that. It's a learning system. Sega, they had that goof up we mentioned with the Yakuza demo, and that's usually what it is. It's like, I don't really see it being a huge problem. The people that do it, I imagine, will have some fun with it. They might buy some systems, and sell it with the, all the hacks and stuff built in. But I don't really think it's going to be a huge effect as far as many just, regular people that aren't even going to bother with this. Whether they don't feel like it or if it's a morals issue. Some people just don't agree, with doing things like that, as far as if you could copy newer games. For me, it's my Switch. I'm not really planning on doing that. If I want emulators and crap, I've got a myriad of other things I can play those on. So,
yeah, I mean, if I want to play emulators on the go, I have a smartphone. My Android does all that. I can actually run Dreamcast games on my Android. So that's something I wouldn't even think about. And I am someone who loves emulation, and I love modding consoles and stuff like that. And I've been diving more into the homebrew community and trying to learn more about it in the past year. But even that being said, I couldn't bring myself to mod and, download free games on my Switch. I just couldn't do it just because it's a new console, and that is where I kind of draw the line. I do have a modded Wii U, but Nintendo no longer supports the Wii U, so it's fair game. For the Switch is, it's only been a year old. I would feel like if I was one of these kind of people that modded my Switch, and then we went on the podcast, I'm like, the Switch isn't selling too well. What's Nintendo thinking? Then I would feel kind of guilty. I'd be like, well, you know what? I'm downloading free games on my Switch, and I'm complaining about Nintendo not making enough money. So that doesn't make any sense with that. But I just don't think it's going to be one of those things that everyone's going to go out there and do. Also, you brought up a good point that they could make a revision. Now, there's been plenty of rumors that they're going to make a handheld only Switch, maybe a Switch with a bigger hard drive, maybe a bigger Switch, maybe a home console only version of the Switch. There's all these different rumors, but I think the most important thing is they're probably, if they do it, they're going to make a new Switch with a different processor to keep people from hacking into it for now. And I say that because it's only a matter of time before someone figures it out. People figure it out. That's what they do. The moment the Switch came out, they're like, what's inside this? What can we do to it? So that's my thoughts on that. I don't think it's anything to worry about. And I think some of the people that are saying Nintendo's in trouble, the Wii wasn't in trouble. The Wii's easily modified. It was modified while it was still active, and it sold, millions. Same thing with the OG Xbox.
For years people could copy. They might not have the capabilities, but could copy the early disk system games. From way on. I had a modded PS1 back in, it was like 99 or 98 that could play bootleg games. These problems are always there, but it's still just a small portion of the community. Like I said, because some for morals, some don't feel like it, some just think it's too much of a hassle.
Exactly. Now speaking of consoles and stuff, Sega had a really interesting press conference, I think 2 weeks ago now. Of course, they mentioned James's favorite series. They're making an HD remaster of Shenmue. 'Cause I know James.
Yes. I was like, life stopped just for a moment. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
But yeah, Shenmue 1 and 2 HD remaster is going to be coming out, and I'm excited about it. I mean, I do have to say the Shenmue series has not aged well. I enjoy it. I'm actually going to be making a video very soon talking to a friend of mine, sharing our Shenmue memories, because it is a very important series, and it does deserve to get remastered and to have other people play it. But also, they mentioned this new Sega Genesis plug and play. Now, here's the funny thing. When they first announced the plug and play, everyone was losing their minds about this, because this is announced by Sega. And then we thought that this was going to be made by Sega, and it wasn't going to be like the other plug and plays by Sega with AtGames and the Fire Core Sega Genesis. And I mean, the only business that's really done well preserving the Sega feel is, I believe they're called Tech Toys or Tac Toys in South America. They have official Sega Genesis merchandise that's really good. But the AtGames, I hear, is kind of a hit or miss, depending on who you're asking. But needless to say, AtGames, apparently, they're making the new Sega Genesis plug and play. Now, we don't know too much about what it is. Right now, it's just a Mega Drive plug and play. It might just stay in Japan. But what do you think about this, James? We have another plug and play.
These happen. The Sega ones seem to come out, every year. I've had a couple of the AtGames one. I'm not as picky with some things as others, though I would believe others, on the technicality aspects of what they don't like. I always thought they were just kind of fun, easy ways to play a bunch of games. The music isn't right. A lot of people aren't going to care. It's just one of those ones that's like, it's nothing new. I do understand the hope when it first came out, like, a competitor with the NES Mini and the Super NES Mini. And to a lot, it's just like, it's the same thing. Now, once again, maybe AtGames could learn from past experiences, complaints, really do some research into why people were so against a lot of these systems. And then at the end, it could be something, better. Lots of times it's, it's still the same group of games. I'd really love to see them leave off the more of just the shovelware crap. I've had a couple of the other AtGames one for some of the Intellivision, the Coleco. I believe they made all those, which were really fun. I got to play some childhood games, some new ones I'd never played. And once again, they throw a lot of garbage on there, which to me gives a little bit of the false advertising, where they can be like over 100-something games, and it's like, 60 of those are just like shitty phone games, really. Some are just really bad. If they could have some kind of deal and snag some of these really cool, maybe like homebrew, more Genesis-inspired games some people have made, and stick those on there, that would be nice. But if they could just get, maybe the sound right, everything with the play. And I don't know if this one, like some of the AtGame ones, had a cartridge slot in the past, which there's a myriad of clone systems, as always, but it's still cool to have one with good built-in stuff. The last one they made was very similar to the Genesis Model 3. I snagged it for $20, built-in games, you could play cartridges. I actually ended up, just giving it to a friend because I didn't really need it, but I know he just enjoyed having it. For so many, they skip the technical aspects and, they just want something easy, nice little stocking stuffers, just something to play a little bit of Golden Axe or something, when they feel like it. We're seeing a few more of these, disc compilations, which to me, they're just kind of always a lot of the same games. And I imagine licensing is a big issue, with some of these ones we'd like to see. So they stick with the main titles. But, at the end, the main titles are always good. And I just kind of hope that, maybe this one's a little bit it's better quality. People maybe, just bitch a lot less about it. But it did seem to really be a big letdown when it finally did come out that, the infamous AtGames was at the heart of it once again.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just kind of blew it out of proportion with AtGames. I mean, it's one of those things, I mean, like, it's not like Sega Genesis games are that hard to come by. First of all, if you're a collector, they're not that hard. Secondly, they're easily emulated. And thirdly, there's so many different plug-and-plays and so many compilations that if you don't like this, you got this. There's just so many options. So I think a lot of people that were getting that upset about AtGames that were making all these rant videos and yelling and throwing things and just, it was just, getting a little too crazy. Speaking of compilations, though, one of the things that Sega did announce that really excited me was they announced that Sega Ages was coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now, what is Sega Ages? Sega Ages is kind of like remakes or enhanced versions of Genesis and arcade games and some Master System games. They're not just straight ports. Like Thunder Force 4 for Sega Ages, when it comes out, is actually going to be the Sega Ages enhanced version that was on the Sega Saturn. So that's going to be kind of cool that we're actually going to have a Sega Saturn game technically on the Nintendo Switch. And with that being said, Sega said that they wanted to bring more Sega Saturn and more Dreamcast games to the Switch. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Nintendo still hasn't officially put out their virtual console, quote unquote, but Sega does what Nintendo don't on the eShop.
Yeah, other companies are making virtual consoles. Whether it's not Psygnosis, like Psychonesis. I'm probably saying that wrong. They do a really lot of awesome arcade, especially if you're into shooters. They have done quite a few. Some that have had Saturn ports, actually, that are quite expensive. But it's, almost every week. I love to check the eShop. Every Thursday I'm typically off. And, a lot of great Psychnosis. Kind of like I'm butchering that, I know. But you guys probably know what I'm talking about. But they just do such awesome shooters. We're getting the Arcade Archives collection from Nintendo itself, which, it's not the classic console games. But for me, these are a lot of games I never got a chance to play. I don't really know a whole lot about the history of, Nintendo's arcade games. And, of course, we had Punch-Out come out recently. Was one I was very excited for. I know many were. I was kind of hoping it was going to be the first one. So, as I waited, and, for some people it was a little bit of a letdown, though we just have to understand that it's really a completely different game. The NES version, I try to appreciate for what it is. I do remember seeing it in the arcade as a kid and probably playing it briefly. It is very tough, but I'm still actually enjoying playing it. So, for the time being, we have that. We also have I believe it's like Johnny Turbo's arcade collection. It's some name like that.
Yeah.
And they've put out a Gates of Doom, I think was a Data East title. And they're starting to drop a couple more. So, while we're not getting the classic console games just yet, we're getting a lot of interesting games that many of us have never played, and I do have appreciation for that. And like you said with the Sega Ages, kind of like the 3D versions of some games we got on the 3DS, it's nice to see something different. A lot of us didn't have access to these as they were on, some PS2 collections, in Japan. So it's going to be kind of really cool to see a different take on these. I know I'm looking forward to them, and a lot of games I definitely played the regular version. I'm going to check some of these out. Yeah,
I am too. I mean, there's a couple of games on there, especially Thunder Force. I really want to play that. And Gain Ground, game I actually have never played, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll probably get this. In fact, shameless plug, one of my last videos I made was talking about 5 games that I would want on this Switch from the Sega Saturn era. So I talked about, Nights in the Dreams and Fighting Vipers and stuff like that. Because, if it's done right, it'd be a really good library of games that really take advantage of the handheld console hybrid concept of the Switch and also, online, anywhere as you go. the other day I was working at Pachinko World, and I was playing Street Fighter 2 online, and I was like, this is awesome. I'm playing online Street Fighter, while I'm not home. It's great. But this gets into another discussion I want to talk about before we get into games we've been playing, and that is Nintendo Labo. All right. Now, man, can you believe that Nintendo Labo outsold God of War double sales in Japan? This is something that everyone was like, you know what, Nintendo could do anything and fans will buy it. Well, this shows that Nintendo did something different, and guess what? People are buying it. Even the people that absolutely hated the Labo concept, day one, they were buying the Labo just so they can talk about it on YouTube and do a review of it. Isn't that interesting?
And I could see it. Have you watched many of the videos of people attempting to put these together?
I haven't watched too many of them. I did watch the Aftermath with Sean Long, RGT85, where he did a video about the Labo, and he was just kind of like, this isn't for me. And apparently, his live stream, he took him, I think in a couple of hours to make a sensor for the robot.
It was an hour and a half to make the Pfizer.
Oh,
I was there on the stream. I had to give my man a couple bucks too, just because he is a homie, one of the main YouTubers. I really like to support. Good guy. He was on one of our last episodes, and I just had a good time. I was playing. I think I might actually be playing like some God of War. I think while I was watching them. Yeah, because that was all on the same day. I bought both Labo collections myself. Upon some debate, I'm still thinking about maybe taking the robot back. I have a month, to take it back. It's a lot of me. I think it would be fun to put together. I plan on making them with my wife because she's way more crafty than and I think I'll have a much better time putting it together than he did. A lot of the people kind of criticized him for just kind of him having a little bit of a lack of a patience. Like he woke up and was cranky. He was trying to build this huge robot set, where some others got the variety pack. Now, I do plan on keeping that. I myself have not just I've had a lot of other games I've been playing, and I just didn't really have the time. I think I'm going to do one of those sets at a time. Definitely want to do the piano.
Yeah, that one looks good.
And the fishing rod looks kind of cool too, so I really want to keep that one. And like I said, that was the $70 one, and then the robot being $80. Where I was like, well, I could take that back and get like quite a few games because I just even if I made it, I'm sorry, I don't know, I just don't really see myself standing around a robot pack punching stuff in the air. I don't know. And who knows? Maybe I'll take it back and somebody else will be able to get it because I don't know if it's sold out, around here. But that's one that does seem like it might be a little bit more fun for some, kids. Family, of course, helping put it together, but the kid might like playing with it a bit more.
Well, I think the Labo is one of those things, like, you really think about it, like Sean was saying, that would probably take about 8 hours to put together the robot set, which 8 hours is a long time to be finicking with cardboard. But you think about it this way, okay? The experience is putting it together and crafting it and taking the time to do it. And then once you're done, enjoying the game that has to do with it. And let's face it, I'm pretty sure the game isn't that long. It's pretty much probably just a tech demo. So the majority of your time and majority of the excitement is putting together the Labo. And if you're one of the kind of people that don't have the patience for it, then yeah, it's definitely not for you. Now, one of the things that I do absolutely hate, though, when it comes to people who discuss the Labo, isn't folks like Sean who are maybe impatient, who, is like, hey, this isn't for me. It's like, okay, well, yeah, it's not for me, too. Like, I'm not getting a Labo. I don't want to put together the stuff. It's not my cup of tea. The thing that annoys me are the people that are like, someone's going to buy this for their kid and they're just going to rip it to shreds because it's made of cardboard. I'm like, can you give kids just a little bit more credit? I mean, not all kids are destructive, and most parents probably know what they can get and what they can't get for their kids. Like my oldest nephew, I could get him the Nintendo Labo and he would enjoy it. He loves crafts, and he would enjoy putting it together with all of us. But my other nephew, who's younger, he has autism. He would tear it up. So I'm like, okay, well, he's autistic and he gets really impatient with stuff like that. So I'm not gonna buy him something made out of cardboard. It's the dumbest debate that people have or subject that people have said about the Labo when it comes to something that was made for kids. They're like, oh, kids are just going to tear it up. I'm like, dude, I had the same NES that I've had since I was 5 years old, and the reason why it still works is because I took care of my crap.
Yeah, many kids are different. I've got so many of my childhood toys, toys that were my sister's 10 years prior to me. Almost everything is intact other than normal wear and tear. And yes, you do have kids that are just, they like to tear stuff apart.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's in a good sense. Sometimes those kids will be the ones that are fixing things later in life by taking things back together. And some are just, little shits that will just rip everything to pieces. And it's just all about knowing your kid. Maybe it's something you buy with them and you play, with only them. Lots of kids had toys that were like, okay, this is a toy for, mom and dad and you to play with together because maybe it's a little bit more advanced. It all goes on the kid and how they act and the parent knowing them and the, boundaries and regulations they set.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, that's really what the Labo is. The Labo is made for, tinkering and having fun and engineering, and then at the end it's playing a video game, So, I mean, I think a lot of people that are, just hating on the Labo just completely don't understand. They see a video game company making stuff out of cardboard instead of, Nintendo, which is, always been more than video games, before like 30 years ago or 35 years ago. So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I'm hoping that they do more with the Labo. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't mind seeing them do more with it because I think it's got potential to do a lot of cool things on that side of the spectrum. The only time I think I would get upset with the Nintendo Labo is if they totally like neglected video games and they went towards Labo. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, and you never know what kind of like, little offsets. Like, I don't know if that's a full-on patent, Nintendo can only make these. Are you going to see any, third-party, more like chinchy types? Could you see good, maybe replacement parts? Other companies might make extra good add-ons. I'm kind of curious about games, for instance. Say, what if we got like a Sega bass fishing, and could you use this fishing rod? Could it be incorporated into that, like an actual, like plastic peripheral for a game? It's still very new. Obviously, it, like you said, it sold amazing, in Japan, and sometimes they have a little bit of a different audience, than us. But as far as, with that being popular there, that's also going to, it's going to stem off some other things we could see from it. So we could see some really more, inventive and cool things from it. I don't think it's going away just yet. I don't know if it'll last the whole life of the Switch, but for right now, it just seems like something really interesting.
I'm just waiting for if it gets really popular and starts making a lot of money. I'm anxious to see what Sony and Microsoft does. They're like, oh, we got our own cardboard peripherals. The new God of War, you can put together these, cardboard axes, and people are like, hey, that's kind of cool. I like cardboard axes.
I wonder if sometimes too, some people could even branch into making, more sturdy stuff.
Yeah.
Whether it's something with plastic pieces, like a make your own controller, or it like I said, it's just kind of interesting to see where it might go.
Yeah, it's all starting somewhere, and it could be something that could really be something interesting with gaming. But speaking of gaming, before we cut out the episode, let's get into games we've been playing recently, because it's been a month, and despite myself moving, I've still been playing a lot of video games thanks to the Switch. But I'm going to start with you, James. What have you been playing lately?
Well, a couple of the ones that I just got, I did pick up this one, one of my weekly eShop checks, and there was a game called A Robot Named Fight. It definitely had a Metroid look to it. I can't fully remember the price. It could have been between like $10, $12 maybe. This is a game definitely, man, if you're a fan of Metroid, has a very good, look, kind of like the Aliens Colonial Marines. It is a procedurally generated game. So, of course, when you die, you keep some of the upgrades and stats that you got. But the stages look different. And the thing that really got me is it's quite bloody. You have alien tentacles coming out of the wall that you can shoot. I mean, like, blood splats stay on the ground. It's a very spritey, bloody game.
Oh, wow.
You can shoot open these eggshells, and sometimes different creatures come out. You have a diagonal up and down shot. You get, of course, new upgrades, whether it's a charge blast to crawl through small spaces. You actually turn into a little spider, so you can go through those. Didn't get super far. I played it right before the show because I think I downloaded it last night or or Friday. But I'm really digging it. Like I said, it's definitely if you want a Metroid type game, it's got the doorways you shoot to go through. Heavily inspired. It's not always a bad thing. I did pick up also a copy of Wild Guns on the Switch, and this is one that it's been out on the other systems, but it finally started getting a physical release. And I'd heard the Switch one actually on Sean's channel. He had mentioned he didn't know if the Switch one might be like a little bit harder to get. I decided I wanted to try to pick up a copy. It was only $30, and I checked my GameStops online, and the one on my route actually had a copy. So I went in to look, didn't see it on the shelf. So I said, well, I'll go ask. Happened to see it behind the counter. I think they had 3 copies. This was the only store in town. So I bought 2, not to be a dick and resell. I bought a copy for my brother because I thought it would be harder to find. And they even told me lots of times many people know GameStop. They can take the games home, and try them. I don't know if this leads to those open new copies that everyone, hates so much. But anyway, the girl told me that they actually would not let them take Wild Guns home to play. So it definitely does seem to be a bit more in limited supply. So, I mean, I would say if you're a physical collector, definitely try to track this one down. I already noticed it going from, 40 to 50 on up on eBay. And it is just a $30 game. But you can very easily get it on digital. Plays a lot like the old one, only it's got, 4 players. I think it might have online co-op. Not
nice.
Positive. If you like the old Wild Guns, you'd like this one. Games like this I still like a little bit better with a light gun, but the fact that your character can move and jump and roll, it'd be kind of hard to have a light gun aspect with that. Very tough, but a very cool one to check out. And like I said, if you're a physical collector, maybe try to snag it if you see a copy because it's probably only going to go up.
I'm not gonna lie, I get Wild Guns and Sunset Riders mixed up all the time. I get those 2 games.
Yeah,
I get those 2 mixed up all the time because whenever I heard like Wild Guns, at first I was like, oh man, because I was thinking of like Sunset Riders, which is like pretty much a Western Contra, and I'm like, man, this is gonna be awesome. And then I see, I'm like, oh, it's that other game where you're like controlling the crosshairs and shooting stuff. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I would have preferred Sunset Riders myself too, but it's still an interesting one. Another game I've been hearing a lot about, one of those games that have been getting 9s and 10s, another download game called Celeste. A little bit lower graphic, kind of 8-bit styled, and the whole thing is you're climbing a mountain. You have lots of like dash abilities, and as you jump, you hit L to hang on to a side and climb up. I've heard many good things, and so far it's good. It's frustrating because I died like a lot, but yet I still wanted to keep on checking it out. And also on the other side, I finally got a external hard drive for my PS4, which has been full for so long. And as much as I love the Switch, the main reason I was playing it so much was because I really had no room on my PS4. Like, it just wasn't even fun to download games because I'd have to erase something. And, of course, with Yakuza VI coming out soon, at the time, of course, it's out now, I wanted to make sure I had enough room. So I picked up an external. I want to say it was a 2 terabyte for I think like $80, free shipping. It's kind of the recommended PlayStation 1. I'm sure there's other ones that might be better, but like I said, not a technical dude. So if people say, hey, get this one, I'll get it. And I don't think you can save any save data on it, but it does take all the the apps and the games, all the heavy duty stuff that takes up space. So very easy hookup. Anybody can do it. I even told a friend recently about it, and he's like, "You can get an external for the PS4," and I'm like, "Yeah, dude." I'm like you got to get one because I'm pretty sure yours is full too. You got to get one.
Yeah, it was one of those things that you couldn't do it for a long time, and you had to like get an extra. I think like Nyko and some other companies made like secondary hard drives that you could like hook into your PS4. And you had to take apart your PS4 to put it in, and a lot of people didn't like doing that. And that was like one of the selling points with the PS4 Pro and the PS4 Slim was like, oh, you get a bigger hard drive. And everyone was like, getting happy about it. And then they were like, oh, yeah, by the way, we're releasing a patch as well that you can use external hard drives now. And everyone's like, oh, shit. So, I think the patch happened sometime last year, to be honest. So it hasn't been a thing for a while.
Yeah, mine was a terabyte. I think I'll have my PS4 this November will be about 2 years. And I mean, it filled up in like a year or less.
Oh, wow.
Just very irritating. I was in the same space I was at with my PS3 where it was more of a hindrance, really to try to play. So I managed to go back and re-download a couple games, that I had bought and I never got to play. One interesting thing bringing up too is kind of like this rebirth of FMV games. We've seen some with The Bunker, which is available actually on all systems. I think it just came on the Switch too. And they're really, as before, of course, it was video. It was always a little grainy, not the greatest experience in the world, but neat nonetheless. And with games like The Bunker and another one I got called The Late Shift, I mean, these really are interactive movies. You watch it, it feels like a movie. It's filmed, just beautifully, actors, and you get to a situation and you have to pick. Like Late Shift, it's just a guy renting cars and he gets caught up in this whole bank heist, and you have to make certain selections of really like what to do. I found it really fun, really interesting. The Bunkers one, I've not tried it. Like I said, it was on the Switch, and I think it was on sale for like $5 on PSN, which I might go that way. But that might have been during the flash sale, which I actually had a lot of fun going through that. Was playing The Park. It was kind of a walking sim, but you're going through an old abandoned amusement park, which is just super creepy. And I guess you're looking for your creepy kid who went in there, who I would probably just leave and go away. But if you're into those type of games, just walking around, being, a couple little jump scares and stuff, that was a very fun one. Cubert, always a classic. It was a newer Cubert that came out a while ago, and I said, let me pick that one up. And Iconoclast has to be another one of the more fun titles I pick. If you like an old good 16-bit style, it feels like a lost GBA game. To me, it's definitely kind of got the, a Metroidvania feel, areas locked off, and you have a wrench tool, which can be used to unscrew locks that open doors, or you can jump and use it as a swinging implement. You collect different, alloys and metals, and you can craft new tools. And from what I heard, this was like a one-person game, too. They've been working on it for a few years, which is really amazing, because it looks beautiful. I want to say it's like $20, but it was one I definitely did not regret spending any money on. And I did get God of War. I never even played the last God of War. I heard a lot of good things. I really only played it the first day, but so far, I mean, I've really enjoyed it. I don't know if it's the most wonderful thing in the world, like some people have said. I'm not disagreeing with them. I think it's great. I like the change up. I think you can only do the Greek mythology for so long. And I mean, of course, a new gameplay style with more of the over the shoulder. You have the little boy, you have him with you the whole time, who's really not a hindrance. You would kind of imagine having someone like that as like, oh man, it's going to be getting killed. This, hasn't really been a problem. But of course, a lot of my time has gone to Yakuza 6, of course, I'm sure everyone knew that would be the game I mentioned playing. And man, it was great. Just the set. I got the collector's set, which they really stepped up. It is a huge box. I don't buy many special editions. I really like the kind of kitschy stuff they threw in because it's like drinking glasses, coaster. It's a very adult, classy set.
It's
there's
a lot
no
more practical.
T-shirts in this.
It's more practical.
It's actually usable stuff. You get some of the ice cubes, that you can freeze, the ice cubes that don't melt. It's got an art book. I actually haven't used anything, in it because I'm a little worried with it's like I don't really want to wash the design off the glasses because I'm a dishwasher guy. I'm probably not washing no damn glass in the sink. Sorry. So I might just, just sit them up. It's kind of still all in the box now. But, I mean, the game, it's Yakuza. I have no complaints. It's a great wrap up. They definitely kind of end cap the stuff from 5 since so many people missed it. And it is the last story with Kiryu. Lots of cutscenes at the beginning, which I loved because it definitely feels almost kind of like you're watching a movie. Amazing story. Characters, I've run into Mr. Okada himself, the Rainmaker, the New Japan World Champion, man.
Oh, yeah.
I ran into him. He's lucky I didn't have to fight him. He walked off. He might have actually beat me that time because it was early on in the game. But, really no complaints. I ran into one of my favorite directors. He does the Outrage movies. Which are, if you love the Yakuza series, I've said it before, I highly recommend the Outrage movies. And Beat Takeshi is actually in the game as one of the minor Yakuza bosses, and he's doing the voice acting, and it's just really cool to see him. It's been it's always an experience for me. It's like I got to gear up for this game. I know it's going to be some emotional journey that I could very well be playing, and stretch it out for over a year.
Yeah, that's been my most anticipated title of 2018 so far. It's been Yakuza 6. Like, I haven't gotten God of War. Pretty much, with the move, I was kind of, down with my finances because I had the Yakuza 6 collector's edition pre-ordered, but I was like, I got to move, so I had to cancel that, and I'm like, I'll get the game, and that's really what I wanted. I mean, the collector's edition's awesome, and I would love to have it, especially when I was playing it and drinking out of that, Yakuza glass, drinking some nice rum and stuff. I was like, man, I had the whole thing set up that I was going to do, but I didn't get a chance to. But the game's fun. So far, I've gotten to the part where he goes to Hiroshima. I've gotten to that part. I haven't been able to play the last couple of days because I've been busy working, but it's everything that I've wanted in a new Yakuza game. Like, it's so freaking good. And I do like the fact, because I didn't play Yakuza 5, that it does recap a lot of what happens. And they do clever ways of kind of introducing you to characters of the past in case you haven't played the past games, which is really cool. I like that they did that. They do it in a very clever way. Other than Yakuza 6, I've been playing another game called Venture Kid on Steam. I'm actually working on a review for that, so I can't really talk too much about it, but it's pretty much a Mega Man clone. I mean, it plays a lot like old school 8-bit Mega Man, so I've been playing some of that. I'm almost done with it, actually. It's a very short game. It might be coming out for the Switch, too. They've been talking about that, but right now it's just on mobile and Steam. Also, been playing. I beat Kirby. I beat Kirby during our break. It was a lot of fun, but I actually traded Kirby in a couple other games to get Yakuza 6. I mean, I traded in. I think I traded in like Crash, Kirby, and Street Fighter on the Switch, and I got Yakuza for like $1. I traded those 3 games. I'm like, I'm not gonna play these. So, and I also got a download code from WayForward for Shantae. Half Genie Hero Ultimate Collector's Edition. I got a digital code for that, so I've been playing that. And excuse me, if you've played any of the other Shantae games, it's a lot of fun. It's a game that's been out for a couple of years now. It came out in 2016, but this version they actually added some new stuff to it. They have like 3 new modes where you can like have like a a ninja mode, and you got this beach girl mode, and then you got the Mighty Force mode, which is my favorite because it's based off of the games Mighty Force 1 and 2. Really cool platformers on the 3DS by WayForward. And, you're playing as Shantae, but she's in the, Mighty Force outfit. She's running around. It's got a very Mega Man kind of feel because she's got a little arm like a little space gun that she can shoot out, and she's saving beach hoodlums, and it's a lot of fun. So, I said before we got into games we've been playing, I'm like, yeah, I've been still playing games, but man, James, you've been playing a lot more than I have. Oh my gosh, that was a lot of games.
I kind of usually in the past it's like I've gotten this game, but like yeah, I didn't play it yet.
But I mean that's just the way it is. And you know what, being kind of on the go for a month, moving and packing, like rest assured why I do love the Switch so much, because man, I was like, what if I get a review for this game that I got to make a video on? And that's the reason I've been requesting them all on the Switch, because I'm like, if I get a review copy for a Switch game, I can play it on my downtime at work. I can, play it anywhere, even when, I don't have my TV's hooked up, not even hooked up anymore because I got to go pack it and move it in storage or something. Like, I can still play my Switch. So, that's been pretty much it. And this is pretty much the episode right here. Was there anything else you wanted to tie in before we wrap up?
I just want to bring up a funny story of a friend of mine. He was giving away a 36-inch kind of like flat screen Sony Trinitron TV because he knew a lot of retro game players. Apparently, it's the preferred
that's a good
TV
television
for GameCube Smash players. And I was like, man, that'd be kind of nice. Like I've got a decent one I found on the side of the road, which is small, and I was just like, the thing is, I've helped move a Trinitron TV before, and there was two of us, and my one friend who I considerably way stronger than me, and man, it about killed us. So I did not put in an offer. Like I said, it was free. He just wanted somebody to get it, and someone offered, and I was like, dude, you're gonna have to help move it. And then he texted me later. He's like, dude, he brought his brother. He's like, I didn't have to touch it at all. And he's like, and best thing was, he's like, they were actually super excited, to get it. So I just thought that was kind of a neat little story. And another little tip on Yakuza, I would say, too, as far as the new one, for a lot of people that played Zero, was a lot of, people's first venture into that. I like how 6 has only gone back to one style. I think Kiwami. I didn't really play Kiwami a whole bunch because I knew 6 was coming out and I wanted to wait. But I definitely like just the one style. I mean, it's very smooth. Going into buildings, you can actually fight into buildings, which I don't recommend because if you need to buy something, those
they
kick
won't.
You out, man.
I found that out. I went and fought in the gas station right afterwards. I had to buy some booze, or I had to buy that Pinto box for the homeless guy, and the guy wouldn't serve me. And I'm like, man, so I had to go to another place across town.
Yeah, you can walk around, and I think that they'll open back up to you after a while. But it kind of reminds me of certain games, before where you break a pot in somebody's house, and they're like, get out. But the improvements are great. The engine, it's on a newer one, and like I said, it's just kind of sad to see the end of the Kiryu story because I've been with him through many ups and downs. And just curious to see how it all ends. But at the end, we know it's not going to stop because they're already working on, another story, with a newer person. They've had some other protagonists in the past as far as the PSP games, the Black Tiger, which were a different offshoot, different character. It wasn't really canon, but Kiryu would, always usually show up in some way or the other. But I think this will be a great end, and it's just been, I haven't had any complaints, man. It has just been really awesome. Even the differences, it didn't really take me too much to get used to. The leveling system, I think, is way improved over Zero. I was not really a fan of, that big weird looking
the skill
Mancala
tree.
board.
Yeah.
This one's you have way more choice of what you want to level up. Gives you some suggestions, but I think that was trimlined a little bit, and just everything to me is perfect, and it's all I wanted. And like I said, I'm looking forward to, like I said, shit for me, probably over a year or so of playing through this game. And then on to the next one. Or then I got to finish Kiwami after that. And then Kiwami 2 in August, everybody.
I know. It's crazy. It's insane. And they're already talking about how they're already working on more Yakuza projects. And I would I recommended a friend Rob Luther. I bought Kiwami for him, and he finally started playing it. Dude put in like 5 hours overnight, was hooked. And he's like, are there more of these on PS4? And I'm like, dude, you got 0, you got Kiwami coming out, you got 6. I was like, and I really think we're going to end up getting ports of 3, 4, and 5, just with it, as well as it's doing, as many that we're getting. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are, curious about the rest of the stories, and especially with 5 being that it's only download, and it was near the end of the system. So many people missed it, and it was really fun. Like I said, that's the one that added driving, hunting. You had the mini games with Haruka's pop star career. I think 5 might have actually been other than maybe like 1, 2, just because they started it. But I mean, I had such a blast. With 5, so many different characters to play as. So it's great to see people playing it. It's getting the love I think it deserves. And I am very happy for those getting the, Shenmue remakes, of course, and, part 3. I just hope you're not let down if you played Yakuza and then you've gone back to Shenmue for the first time. Yeah.
It's a little bit slower, but it birthed, to me, it really did birth Yakuza, and I have Shenmue to thank for that, and I loved it at the time. So it's nothing but love between us Shenmue and Yakuza people. It's all in jest.
Indeed. I always say that I made a tweet that I was like, the Yakuza series is as if the Shenmue didn't forget leg day. That's the best way to put it. But anyway, guys, this is going to wrap up another episode of XSGaming Podcast, and if by some chance you're listening to us on YouTube and you're like, wow, this was recorded on the 29th of April and I'm listening to this in the beginning of May, it's because you probably need to check out our Podomatic website. On Podomatic.com, you can actually listen to the podcast earlier than on YouTube. YouTube is kind of more for archive purposes. And, if you listen to us on Podomatic, be sure to leave us a review. Or also on iTunes, leave us a review. It helps the show out. And, we get a lot more out of that than, the people that listen to us on YouTube Red, because this show isn't monetized. We don't even see any money from those. We don't even see any money from YouTube Red. So if you can, check us out on Podomatic and on iTunes, and because of that, you'll actually get notified and see and hear the podcast quicker. But anyway, guys, as always, thanks for listening, and as always, happy gaming.
Have a pleasant evening, everyone.